Yeah. And so Christian, we've been talking a lot about like kind of like scientific ways to like kind of like increase your serendipity. But one like lesson I really enjoyed also was about like manifestation, like the self-fulfilling prophecy. Because I found it also like I guess part of my life where I actually like visualize or like I manifested something and it actually came true. So could you kind of explain like is there like more of a science behind that, or is that more of an art of creating good luck?
That's a great question. I think there's a on the record and off the record answer probably to it, in the sense that on the record, the academic in me is like, I will probably only want to talk about like the things we can scientifically show. And so I think, and then the offline answer, I think there's wonderful answers. I can highly recommend, by the way, Bernard Beitman's book on synchronicity and connecting with coincidence, because he writes a lot about those things where we can't really grasp it scientifically, right? Like, I can't tell you why my friend feels when her sister was in an accident. I can't tell you this. I can't tell you what that is. We can't really measure it in some ways. There's this whole quantum physics question around it, and some call it then quantum mysticism. But I think Bernard is doing some really great work around trying to figure out, at this frontier of science, is there something we can learn that explains a bit more why some things happen energetically and in other ways. And so I think there's this whole thing that I think deserves a whole conversation in itself. And then on the scientific side, I think what I found really interesting is, when you think about what do you do when you manifest like some kind of objective, what you're doing is you're finding something where you now know that you want to see how you can connect dots to it, right? And so now, in a way, it gives you something that makes it easier to spot opportunities, because you can relate whatever you're seeing, you can relate to that thing now. And so I think that is, in a way, developing a certain focus that allows you to identify opportunities easier. It's like in a company, right? Like, I do a lot of work with executive teams, and when you have a leader who says, our bigger purpose here is that we want to lift 500 million people into the financial system as a MasterCard company, then if I'm an employee now and I talk with friends, I will, if a friend tells me, oh, hey, I have this solution that helps people in poverty get out of poverty, I'm like, oh my God, such a coincidence. My boss just told me about. So let me do something with it, right? So the point is, that's the same with individuals. If we have something that we can connect dots to, serendipity becomes much more likely. So long story short, I think there's things that are very tangible that can explain that. And then I think also there's probably other things that are about how you then also probably develop things that I can't explain, but I think there are other people who are really good at trying to grasp it at the frontiers of science.
Yeah, and yeah, you give people a heads up on the subtitle where you say it's an art, but it's also a science, and like maybe the science isn't 100% there, but it seems like you can't really go wrong like manifesting or kind of knowing what you want, and also relates to a tip you shared earlier, where it's like you want to be alert, you want to be on the lookout for what you want, and that alertness will help you like filter all the things going on in the world. And like if you spot what you're looking for, then it might feel like you manifested it, but it's really you just been on the lookout for it.
Exactly.